relative pronouns, que es el término gramatical, pero es ambiguo. Entonces, vamos a conocer el concepto por el contexto de una fiesta de cumpleaños, porque en la lección 9 el tema principal es las celebraciones, ¿no? Y ayer Will Páginas celebró mucho el cumpleaños de su amigo y el sábado por la noche Aaron celebró mucho cumpleaños. Entonces, por eso tenemos mucho contexto con este concepto gramatical, que es lo más importante para entender o comprender la gramática. Necesitamos este contexto. So, vamos a identificar el significado y después vamos a identificar el uso de estas palabras. Y chicos, estas palabras no son nuevas. Hemos visto estas palabras. We've seen quién and quiénes before. We've seen que before. We actually haven't seen lo que before, but we'll talk about that today. Bueno, chicos, entonces, nomás para yo aquí. ¿Cómo se dice quién en inglés? ¿Cómo se dice quién en inglés? Por ejemplo, ¿quién es tu mejor amigo? O ¿quién es tu profesor o actor favorito? ¿Cómo se dice quién en inglés? Who, ¿no? So, ¿cuál es la diferencia entre quién y quiénes? ¿Cómo se dice quiénes? Who, también. Entonces, ¿quién significa who? ¿Quiénes significa who? Entonces, ¿cuál es la diferencia? Y la diferencia es gramatical. Singular y plural, exactamente. Muy bien. So, ¿quién es singular? Por ejemplo, ¿quién celebra su cumpleaños hoy? O ¿quiénes celebrarán su cumpleaños en agosto? ¿No? Singular, plural, they both mean who. ¿No? Refiere a una persona. ¿Quién refiere a dos personas? ¿Quiénes? ¿No? Ok, ¿y qué? ¿Cómo se dice qué en inglés? What? Excelente. Pero chicos, tengan cuidado. Que en español tiene tilde. With the accent mark, que means what? Without the accent mark, it can mean lots of different things depending on the context. Like, no, hoy es Labor Day, ¿no? Y no es justo que tengamos clase hoy, ¿no? It's not fair that we have class today, ¿no? Que can be used as a connector in español to indicate that, connecting two ideas. It's not fair that we have class today, no? A connector, just like porque, like, no me gusta la clase de español porque me gusta la cultura. Que and porque are connectors, they just have different meanings, but they're both connectors. Que without an accent mark, and the examples that we're going to see today mean that, okay, or which. So really the only new one is loque, and we're going to look at loque after we see some examples and figure out exactly what, hint, 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 it means. Okay, el primer ejemplo. Manuela. So typically, I have you fill in this word quién, but on your paper, I've provided it for you. But I do want you to rewrite it in the box where, or the column where it says pronombre relativo. So in this box, you want to make sure you point out which word we're focusing on, quién, and then you could maybe underline it or circle it in the sentence, okay? And don't put any accent marks on any of these words because none of them are questions. We're not asking who, we're stating who. And in this case, we're saying what? Manuela what? What's it saying? Who is what? Cumple 21 años mañana. Is turning 21 tomorrow, right? Okay, so Manuela, comma, hint, 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 who is turning 21 tomorrow, comma, another hint, no sabe que sus amigos están planeando una fiesta. What's that talking about? She doesn't what? What's no sabe? In the present tense, saber? No sé, profesita. ¿Cómo se dice no sé en inglés? I don't know. So this is just the AO form. She doesn't know what? What does she not know? Yeah, that they're planning a party for it. Exactly. Excelente. So even though we have this connector K, we're focusing on quien. Quien means who, not as a question, but it's used, and we'll focus on the explanation, like written out the rule here in a second. But basically, quien connects two ideas when there's a common subject, and Manuela is the common subject, meaning we could take a sentence with this quien connector word and turn it into two sentences with the same subject. We could say, Manuela cumple 21 años mañana, period. And then we could write another sentence and say, Manuela no sabe que sus amigos están planeando una fiesta. All we're doing with quien is connecting two different sentences that have the same subject. And who is the similar subject here? Who is the subject of both of these verbs? Manuela, right, so we have to use quien, all right? When you do your supersite homework, that's the strategy you're going to implement. You're going to start off with quien or quienes because they're the easiest ones to identify. Let's take a look at another example, but with this one we have que. Jaime y Laura son los amigos que planean la fiesta. So make sure you copy K in your box, K, and then maybe circle it in the example so you know how it's being used in context. Jaime y Laura son los amigos que planean la fiesta. What's this simply saying? Jaime and Laura are the friends that are planning the party, right? You know, Manuela doesn't know about her party, so her friends are planning it. K is simply connecting this sentence with the other sentence when we have a common noun. So, Jaime y Laura son los amigos, period. Jaime y Laura planean la fiesta, period. Connecting two ideas with a common noun, different than a common subject. We'll look at some more examples and hopefully it'll make sense how it's used. But we've seen K as a connector many times leading up to this. So hopefully it won't be too confusing. Otro ejemplo, con qué, con quiénes y quién. So muchos pronombres para copiar. Que, quiénes, and then quién en sus papeles. It's broken down into two parts because we do have two separate sentences. Que, quiénes, and quién. All right, so let's see why we're using each one. Empecemos con Juan y Luz. Vamos con este ejemplo. Juan y Luz, ¿quiénes son los hermanos de Manuela van a venir a la fiesta? Why is quiénes being used here? Or how is it being used?
It's two people.
Two people, that's why it's plural. Excelente. Who, exactly. Who happen to be the common subject, right? Juan y Luz are the subject of this verb. Juan y Luz are the subject of this verb, which is why we connect them with quiénes. And the only difference with this example versus Marco is what? Marco is still the subject of this verb. Marco is still the subject of this verb. But we're using quien because why? Instead of quiénes? Singular. Right, exactly. All right, so let's finish with que in this slide. Estas son las personas que van a invitar. So what's that saying? These are the people that they're going to invite. K is connecting these two ideas. Common noun. But notice when we compare all three examples with quiénes and quien versus K, we have commas, right? We have Juan and Luz, comma, and then we have our one idea, comma, and then our other idea, same with quien. So when you're doing your supersite homework, start off with quien and quiénes because there's so many clues, okay? We have people, we have commas, and those people are the subjects of the two verbs provided that quien or quiénes is connecting. Once you've identified it's quien or quiénes, then you can easily figure out if it's quien singular or quiénes plural. Then you're left with K and lo que, which are menos obvios. Lo que Jaime y Laura van a servir de postre es un pastel. Lo que. So, what does lo que mean? What's it saying? Focus on the meaning. Lo que Jaime y Laura van a servir de postre es un pastel. Does anybody know how lo que translates into English? ¿Cómo se dice what in español? Que, right? When we are like, you know, que es, or excuse me, que celebración te gusta más? Que with an accent mark means what? But sometimes in English and in Spanish, we use what in a statement, not a question. And lo que means what as a statement. What Jaime and Laura are going to serve for the dessert is a cake. So lo que is our word for what in a statement, rather than like que. ¿Qué clase te gusta más? ¿Qué me dijiste? It can also mean the thing that, but really it's what without being a question, being a statement. Okay, otro ejemplo con lo que, and in this example it's more like the thing that, or what is going to be really fun is dancing all night. So to conclude, lo que means what again? What? As a statement. So, and working in kind of reverse order on your paper, for your explanation, we're going to combine these two because they're together. What as a statement? Not a question. So it's actually pretty easy to understand in English what it means. Lo que means what? When you're not asking a question. Like, you know, what is served during a wedding? Un pastel. It's almost like what you would use for Jeopardy in Espanol. You would say, you know, in Jeopardy, lo que es un pastel. When you reveal the answer, what is a cake? You know, que se sirve durante una boda. Lo que es un pastel. Sí. Okay, so when it's used as a statement, not as a question. And then now let's talk about quién, and quiénes, obviously, in terms of our roles. Remember, quién obviously is going to refer to people. Quién and quiénes refers to people. It's a connector with people. You don't have to copy all this down. Common subject. Okay, common subject. That's really the explanation grammatically. So, quién refers to people. Make sure that you note that. People, people, people. And we know that because of those commas and those names that we saw in the example. Manuela, comma, information, comma. We know it's going to be quién when it's laid out like that. So people, connecting, using commas, common subject, meaning both verbs are using, in these examples, Manuela as the subject. And remember what I said earlier, on the supersite, when you see a sentence like this and you're filling in the blank with quién, look at those verbs and identify, is Manuela the subject for both of those verbs? Could I rewrite this one sentence as two separate sentences keeping the same subject? If the answer is yes, then it's definitely quién, unless it's two people, it's quiénes, right? So quiénes is the same thing, just the plural form. Plural form. That's pretty easy. And tienen, quién and quiénes? Well, you'll figure out if you understand it once we apply it. So what's up with que? Que is also a connector. The difference with que is it's not a common subject, it's a common noun. Two ideas that share a common noun. Talking about, in this case, like the fiesta. So these are ideas. K is used to connect ideas when we have a common noun. Which makes sense because ideas are nouns and subjects are people. So K and low K, when you do the supersite, you know me, I'm always saying do it in steps. Step one, what you're going to do, which is why it's broken down here on your paper. Step one would be to find quien and quienes. Step two would be to find K, and then you save low K for last because low K simply means what? It's easiest to understand, but it's the hardest one to figure out in a sentence at first on the supersite. I feel like low K is the least obvious. All right, so vamos a ver, vamos a hacer algunas actividades. Ok, una actividad. No vamos a hacer esta actividad porque no tiene mucho contexto. Chicos, en la página 241 vamos a hacer actividad 4. Actividad 4 en sus papeles.